Because the why of our lives creates sort of like a foundation for us, right? It's like a foundation of a tree to where when the winds blow, when things are flying around everywhere, the roots still keep it rooted. Yo, what's going on? If you're watching this, you probably have the inner desire to grow and become great at whatever you do or whatever you're trying to do. You want to become better and you want to be an expert or a thought leader at whatever field you're in. And one of the ways that you can do that is by learning a skill and learning how to do it very well. So learning is a huge part of life. We should always be striving to learn and to grow in our everyday lives so that we can become the people that we're trying to be. Especially in an era that there's so much channels to receive information, but honestly, we just have to take advantage of it. But let's face it, learning something new is not easy. Perfecting something and being great is not necessarily an easy task. It can be overwhelming sometimes. And especially when you think about the myth out there that I call a myth, that is, it takes 10,000 hours to get really, really good at something. We understand that learning takes time and time is precious. We want to spend an efficient amount of time to learn the thing that we're trying to learn and get really good at it fast. So if all that I just said sounds like you or something that you're interested in, you've come to the right place. This is the right video for you. So I'm Robert-Eze, and in this video, I'm going to be teaching you 3 practical steps to get better at anything without spending 10,000 hours on it. And if you stay till the end, I've got 2 bonus tips that I'm actually going to share, and I'm sure they'll help you in getting better at anything you're trying to get better at fast. So you might be asking, who is this Nate guy and how is he credible to talk about getting better at things fast, right? Who am I?
We'll be asking the question, who are you?
You.
No, not me, you.
Yes, I am you.
Just answer the damn questions. Who are you?
And for you all who know me personally, I don't like talking about myself like that. I don't necessarily like talking about everything that I do. But in this video, I'm going to give a little snippet of behind the scenes of that. So first of all, I own a company called Render Vision. We're a 3D rendering and animation company. We make 3D walkthroughs as well for real estate developers all around the country. And that skill itself took a long time to learn. So that's why it's part of this whole thing of why I'm qualified to talk about this. I also run a content creation business. I had to get good at learning how to talk into the camera. I'm still getting better, but I had to get to a level of competency about how to do this whole thing. I also run a business called Heavenly Stays. I have an Airbnb back in Indianapolis. We had up to 4 at some point, but moving operations to Charlotte where I stay now, and learning how to do the Airbnb business took a lot of time and dedication. I also run events. I run an Afrobeats brunch around the country. I've done it in 4 different states now, and it is growing rapidly. And lastly, I've taught myself how to play a few instruments, so I kind of understand little tips and tricks here and there, and that's what I'm going to be teaching you about how to get good at something pretty fast. So now that you know me, let's start diving into some of this stuff. So the first thing is finding your why. Having a why in whatever you do makes you more focused. It makes you more concentrated on the things, and it makes you more motivated and relentless to push forward and get to the mastery of that thing. Because the why of our lives creates sort of like a foundation for us, right? It's like a foundation of a tree to where when the winds blow, when things are flying around everywhere, the roots still keep it rooted and it doesn't allow the tree to fall down. And so if you have that deep-rooted why, you're inevitably going to get good at whatever you're trying to get good at, because it's deeper than just that thing, right? It's more about you and your heart and what you believe in. So 2 books I want you to check out. First one is called Starting with Why, and the second one is called Finding Your Why, and they're both by Simon Sinek. It'll teach you all you need to know about that. So I'll go ahead and give you some examples of some whys. So maybe your why is you want to learn this skill of playing the guitar so that you can monetize that skill in 2 to 5 years and do gigs and make some side money 2 to 5 years from now. And it's so funny that a lot of people look down on having a monetary gain as a why. While I don't think it's the strongest why, it is a why. And Myron Golden said something that was so funny to me. He said, if people say they don't care about money and things like this, then they're lying to you. And if they lie about that, then they'll lie about a lot of other stuff. If people didn't care about money, they would not work 40, 50 hours a week for it. So don't let anyone trick you by saying that myth. So another why, I want to buy this camera gear and get really good at photography and videography because I love photography and I love film, and I want to turn my passion into a thing that earns me a stream of income. Another why why would be, I want to get a lot better at graphic design so that I can get a better job or I can start a business that's going to allow me to provide a better life for my family in the next year to come. And the list goes on. Your why is going to be tailored to you and the things that you care about deeply, the things that even you probably loved as a child, the things that you see as your passions, the things that are happening around you. Your why is created by those things. I believe that the deeper your why is, the stronger you will be when the fatigue of whatever you're trying to learn comes in, because it will come in. Right? So the deeper your why is, the better off you'll be in those cases because it means a lot more to you to push through. So let's do some application. Take out a pen and a pencil or take out your phone and write down your why. Write down some of the things that drive you. Write down why you do the current things that you're doing right now. So number 2, you have to learn how to measure your progress. So to really get good at something, you have to learn how to measure how good you are. So you have to know what the metrics are. You have to know if you're making progress. You have to know how much that progress that you have made. You have to know what time it took for you to make that progress and things of that nature. And that'll help you to focus your efforts on getting better and better and better and better every day. So let me give you some practical ways to track your progress. So for example, you want to learn graphic design, and in 2 to 3 months from now, you want to start freelancing and putting your services on Fiverr to get clients and start making some money. Here are some steps that you can apply to your life in the next 2 to 3 months that'll allow you to do that. So first of all, of course, you list your goal. If it's not graphic design, it might be something, it might be sewing, it might be whatever it is, but you want to list that and what you intend on doing with that skill, because that'll determine the level of mastery that you actually need to do the thing. So for instance, if you're trying to become a freelancer, like in this case, you probably need a little lower level of mastery than if you were trying to get a job at Apple or if you were trying to start a full company. So second of all, you want to determine how you learn, right? Are you more of a digital learner? Are you more of a physical learner? Do you have to feel in touch? Are you more of a audible learner? Are you more of a practical learner? Are you more of someone that can watch somebody do something and replicate it? You have to really understand that, because that's going to lead to the third point, which is determining how much you are going to consume in that 2 to 3 months, right? And I'll explain what I mean here. So if you're a visual learner, you determine how many videos you want to consume within that time. If you're more of a learner that needs to see somebody else do it, you figure out if you can get somebody in a room for 2 to 3 days a week or 4 days a week and be in the room with them. So you determine what time that you're going to spend on those things. And then on the other side, just step 4 is practice. You have to practice to get really good. How many hours and how much time are you going to be putting away for practice towards this particular skill? You have to know all these things to be able to track your progress. So then the next thing is to divide those goals into small chunks of things that you need to do every single day. And it'll include all of the variables that I've listed earlier. So going with the graphic design example again, if you're dividing those goals into smaller chunks, the first goal is probably to learn the principles behind the thing, learning color theory, learning the principles of typography, learning the fundamental tools that people who are graphic designers use in their practice, whether it's Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign. Then you have to start learning the tool, because all of those tools are like your paintbrush. You have to know how it's used first before you can use it to the best of your ability. So you have to also know everything that it has in it. And that's where a lot of people miss out. They learn the pen tool on Photoshop, and this is just an example, and they learn how to use the pen tool really good, but they don't even know that you can use the lasso tool that will make their lives so much easier. You get where I'm going? So that brings me to another point. You have to think about the fundamentals first, and then you expand from there. You should take more time on the fundamentals than anything else. If you're learning how to do graphic design, you have to speed learn the theory. I would suggest speed reading a few books on the theory of graphic design and really understand what this thing is and its history, people who came before you. And that gives you a good knowledge base to then build upon to get really good fast. I'll say this, school isn't the greatest thing, but it definitely taught us how to learn. They gave us small chunks to bite on, and that knowledge kind of built and built and built and built on itself. So you learn the fundamentals and then you build your progress on top of that. So this is a pro tip. You can use a calendar or a tracker to actually track your progress, right? I've actually created a entrepreneur productivity organizer that allows for you to check your progress and actually organize your whole life pretty much with it. And I'm gonna put the link in the description on how to access this. But as you can see here, here's a calendar where you can actually put, let's say practice day 1, and you can change all of these variables or whatnot. You can put what I learned, and you can put, either different checklists or different bulleted lists or whatever you want to put. Another cool thing is it has a goal tracker. So you can put your goals in here. You can put the progress of the goal, what type of goal it is, the status of the goal, and then you can put notes and things like that here so you can understand how far you've been. And it's cool sometimes to go back and do some research on how far you've come along, just so you can understand that you are making progress. And another cool thing is you can start to upload videos, of your progress and show how good you're getting at whatever it is that you're doing. So that's the Notion template. And while you're doing that, you can establish a reward system for yourself. If you read the book Atomic Habits, it talks a little bit about this stuff, to where you can design your life in a way makes you want to make progress. For instance, if you're learning graphic design and you learn how to use a particular tool, you can tell yourself, I'm gonna give myself a piece of chocolate, or I'm going to make my logo or get my logo made whenever I get to this form of mastery. And that sets off a dopamine trigger in your brain that is good. It indicates to ourselves that we're making progress, and that makes us happy as people. So tip number 3, and this is a big one, you have to find people to copy. There's a book called Steal Like an Artist by Austin Kleon, and it talks a lot about this, about how a lot of artists and the best artists out there, they steal. One of the best ways to get to the top at what you're trying to do fast is by copying the greats. You learn from the people who are amazing at it and you obsess over them. Because think about it, if you're right here and they're right here and you strive to get up here, you're going to land somewhere in the middle, just inadvertently, or you might pass them up. Who knows? It just depends on how dedicated you are. So I'm gonna give you guys a funny story. I learned how to play bass guitar when I was about 14 years old. I was so obsessed with the bass because I would watch Fred Hammond and I would see just like all the dope like licks and all this. It was so dope, right? So I told myself I wanted to learn it. So I got a bass guitar, and the 3 people that I used to study, I used to be on YouTube watching these guys literally every single day, bro. Sheree Reed, Thaddeus Tribbett, which is Ty Tribbett's brother, and Victor Wooden. I used to literally watch those guys. I went to Victor Wooden's concert. I used to obsess over these guys. And I believe that those 3 helped me to get good at, well, I would say pretty good at bass, because I was looking at different things. I wasn't necessarily just looking at how they play. And I encourage you all to do the same thing. When you're studying these greats and people who are better than you, don't just look at how good they are. Don't just look at how they play, or don't just look at how they perform the task that you're trying to perform. You gotta learn other things from them. You gotta watch their interviews. You gotta learn their stories. You have to learn their why. You have to look at their attitude. You have to look at their values.
What the world needs is good people. What the world needs is you, right?
Their mindset, their movements, the way of thinking, their unique styles, and things like that. Those are the things that you should be really paying attention to. And then what you do is you take the things that resonate most with you and copy those things. And then you make those more tailored to you and who you are. It's the same thing that Kobe Bryant did with Michael Jordan. He took some of the fundamentals that Michael Jordan already played with, and he took them and formed them into his own thing. And Kobe would have been the first to tell you that he learned a lot from Michael. And a lot of the things that he did was because Michael did them, but he put his own twist on it. That's why he was great. So you got to replicate what they do as well. With the bass, I used to watch these videos and I would try to play along with the songs. And I realized that if I wasn't catching up, then I probably wasn't good enough yet. But if I was starting to get the hang of it, then boom, you see some progress. So until I could get the rhythm and style of how they were playing, I just kept practicing. I kept practicing. So congratulations, you made it to the end, and I have 2 bonus tips for you. The first one is what I call learn as you learn. So this is something I started doing when I was in high school. And so basically, if I was learning something, let's say math or something like that, and I came across a word that I didn't know, I would do a deep dive every single time to understand what that other thing was as well. I didn't mind if it let me divert from the thing I was doing or the particular thing I was learning at the time, because I know I needed the collective knowledge to learn this thing as a whole, right? So I'll give you a practical example. So let's say you're learning how to sew online and you're watching a YouTube video and they say a specific word or something like that that you're not familiar with, or they have a specific tool that you're not familiar with that you've never used before. When you find out that thing at that moment, take a deep dive and learn exactly what that is. Because when you learn as you learn everything at once. Does that make sense? And also that knowledge comes back when it's time for application, and it makes you learn stuff faster. So last but not least, the last bonus tip, number 5, forgive yourself when you fall off track. In all of our lives, we have unexpected events that might transpire and cause you to fall off track. You're trying to focus, trying to learn, trying to grow and everything, but things in your life are happening that cause you to be pulled a little bit away from what you're trying to learn. There might also be times where whatever you're trying to learn is taking a little bit longer. You just can't seem to get it. And it causes you to fall behind on your larger goal and your larger timeline that you have. Look, it's important for you to forgive yourselves at this moment, because this is the thing. You have to be in a mental state of growth to be able to get good at anything anyway. If you have a negative outlook on anything that you're doing, it's going to slow your growth. So the best thing to do at that moment is forgive yourself and allow for your self-motivation skills to either extend that timeline and come up with something that is more realistic for you, or maybe give yourself a little more time to learn that particular thing so that you can master it. But like I said, the mental state of where you are when you're learning these things is super, super, super important. And if you get frustrated enough, you might just get burnt out, and you don't want that. So it's key to practice this. So I know a lot of the things that I just talked about are very practical, and you say, okay, yeah, I can do that. But again, like I always say, if you don't put the practical steps that I give into action, if you don't do it right away, you might forget and you might not do these things at all. So right now, I want to challenge you guys to take action right now, man. Put it on your to-do list and start applying these steps, because time is of the essence, especially with all the things happening in our lives. Like, time is moving so fast. So you want to make sure that you're starting. So what are your thoughts on this video? I want to know in the comments what you all think, what you all are trying to learn, and how you all are trying to get to that level of mastery. If I can help in any way, give any advice that I can, I will, and I'd love to hear from you guys. Once again, I'm Nate. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.